Have you ever wondered why every cycle of market euphoria always ends with the screams of a panicking crowd? Why, when everyone believes this time is different, that is exactly when the tragedy has already begun to be written, only no one realizes it yet. This bull and bear story does not begin with price charts. It does not begin with money. It does not begin with stocks, crypto, or real estate. It begins in a forest. One day, 3 bulls went out to graze. They wandered far beyond their familiar land and accidentally stepped into a strange forest. There, before their eyes, was a field of lush young grass, thick, soft, and fragrant with the scent of abundance. They had just lowered their heads to taste it when from the bushes 5 bears burst out roaring and chased them in chaos. The 3 bulls ran, their hearts pounded wildly. But in their minds, there was not only fear. They remembered the grass, remembered the sweetness, remembered the feeling of having just discovered a gold mine, and so greed whispered, "If we have more numbers, we will win." They returned and brought back 8 strong, muscular bulls. This time, they didn't just run. They turned back and attacked. The power of numbers forced the bears to retreat. The field of grass belonged to the bulls again. The first victory made the whole herd euphoric. News spread throughout the forest. There's a fertile land. Grass everywhere. You just need courage and you'll eat. And then more bulls came, more shouting, more confidence. The bears were pushed deeper into the forest. But one thing went unnoticed. The deeper they went, the more grass there truly was. But the bears also became more numerous. The bears further inside were larger, more vicious, more patient. The battle was no longer easy, no longer fight and win. It became a struggle, exhausting, tense. But by now, the crowd was too excited to stop. The first bulls who joined the fight began boasting about their achievements. They told stories of the fresh grass, of victory, of how easy it was to push the bears back. And then the inevitable happened. Not only bulls came anymore. Animals with no fighting ability gradually joined the game. Deer came, antelopes came, piglets came, even chickens and ducks waddled in behind. They had no sharp horns, no muscles, no battle experience. But they possessed the most dangerous thing in any war, collective excitement. They did not understand risk. They only heard the story of the endless field of grass. They did not see bears. They only saw opportunity. The crowd now became noisy, excited, blindly confident. Each new animal that joined went and told others that this was the forest of the future. And meanwhile, the first 3 bulls, the ones who discovered the grass, the ones who fought from the beginning, the ones who had already eaten their fill, they quietly began to withdraw. No noise, no warning, no farewell. They returned to their old land with full stomachs and calm eyes. Deep inside the forest, only the animals with no fighting ability remained, and ahead, the shadows of the bears grew larger by the day. The first roar echoed no longer a warning. It was a sentence. The piglets jolted awake from their dream. They turned around looking for the bulls. No one was there. They only saw the crowd pushing, trampling over each other, running in panic. No more grass, no more future, only late survival instinct. That forest story is the story of financial markets repeating cycle after cycle. And the scariest thing is not the bears. It is the moment when animals that do not know how to fight begin to believe that war is an easy feeding opportunity. If you understand this part, you will start to see the market no longer through the eyes of the crowd. The forest story is not a fairy tale. It is a psychological map of the crowd whenever money starts flowing faster than reason. In financial markets, the lush young grass is easy profit. At first, only the bulls participate. These are the experienced ones, with capital, with endurance, with the ability to fight volatility. They enter early. They take high risks when everything is still unclear. They get slapped by the bears a few times at first, but if they survive, they eat the best grass. This is the stage when the market is still skeptical. Bad news outweighs good news. Outsiders see danger. Insiders see opportunity. Prices gradually rise. Profits begin to appear. The first success stories are told, and that is when the crowd's greed awakens. At first, it's just friends asking each other, "You invested in that? Is it really profitable?" Then colleagues. "Lately, I hear everyone's making money from that." Then social media, showing accounts, showing profits, showing financial freedom. This is when the first bulls start calling in more bulls. Liquidity increases, prices rise faster. Every small dip gets bought. The crowd begins forming a dangerous belief. Every drop is a buy. You can't lose. This time is different. But notice, just like in the forest, the deeper you go into the grass-rich zone, the more bears there are too. In the market, bears are not a specific person. They are large funds beginning to take profit, experienced players gradually reducing positions, smart money quietly flowing out. But the crowd does not see it, because they only see prices still going up. And then the most dangerous phase begins. The animals with no fighting ability appear. Looking back at the stock market during 2008-2010, there were times when everyone opened accounts. Every household talked about stocks. Students traded stocks. Housewives asked which ticker would hit, limit up again. People who had never read a financial report started talking about sector waves. People who had never experienced losses started teaching others how to get rich. That was when deer, antelopes, piglets flooded the forest. They had no system, no risk management, no experience enduring losses. But they had something stronger than knowledge, collective belief that they would not be the last losers. Greed at this stage was no longer just about money. It turned into fear of being left behind. FOMO. My friend is up 200% already. If you don't enter now, you're stupid. This is the chance to change your life. This is when the market enters the final phase of a bubble. Prices no longer rise based on value, but on the next person willing to pay more. Exactly like the weak animals charging after the herd of bulls because they heard about the endless grass. Crypto was the same. 2017, 2018. From tech people to drivers, students, online sellers, everyone talked about coins. Trash tokens went up in price. Projects with no products still raised capital. People who had never invested believed they had genius insight. That was not genius. That was the crowd lifting you on the final tidal wave. And just like in the forest, the first bulls, the early entrants, the large funds, the professional players, they began to sell. No noise, no announcement, no live stream of them exiting. They simply disappeared from the battle. Who remained? Newcomers, the inexperienced. Those using borrowed money, those who believed it will go back up after a drop. Then one day, the roar of the bears appears. Bad news, a sharp crash, a wave of selling. At first, the crowd reassures itself. Just a correction, chance to buy more, buy the dip. But the bears do not stop. Prices keep falling, margin calls, panic. Now, the piglets realize they do not know how to fight. They have no stop-loss plan, no reserve money, no psychological endurance for drawdowns. They only know how to run. And when the crowd runs at the same time, the market is no longer a market. It becomes a collective stampede. People sell at any price. Those who escape survive. Those stuck freeze as their accounts evaporate. Only then do they ask, why did this happen? Didn't everyone say it would keep going up? Because the ones who said that had already left before. The lesson of the forest is not about fearing bears. Bears always exist. Crashes are a natural part of cycles. The lesson lies in the most dangerous signal. When those with no fighting ability begin joining in large numbers and believe war is an easy feeding game. When a rideshare driver gives you investment advice. When someone who has never read a report teaches you analysis. When everyone shows profits and no one mentions risk. That is not when you should be excited. That is when you should look around and see how many real bulls are still in the forest. Because the market does not kill you with the first crash. It kills you with the illusion of safety before the crash. If you learn to recognize whether you are a bull or just a piglet running with the crowd, you will no longer be surprised when the roar of the bears echoes. So, how do you know whether you are standing at the edge of the forest or already too deep in bear territory? The market does not hang warning signs. No message appears saying, "This is the top, turn back." But crowd psychology always leaves traces. The problem is, most people only look at price and not at human behavior. The first sign of a crowd top is not strong price increases. It is who is making money. In the early stage of an uptrend, those making money are usually people patient enough to wait for opportunity, people who can tolerate doubt, people brave enough to enter while others are still afraid. But toward the end of a cycle, those making money become people with no knowledge, people with no plan, people who enter just because they heard about it. When the market rewards ignorance that is not heaven, that is a trap rolled out with a red carpet. The second sign is the disappearance of the word risk. In healthy phases, people still talk about being wrong, still talk about risk management, still prepare for bad scenarios. But in bubble phases, the language changes. It can't drop that much. The government won't let it crash. There's still so much money flowing in. If you don't buy now, you'll miss a lifetime opportunity. When every argument leads to one conclusion only, price will rise forever. Reason has left the room. The third sign is price rising faster than understanding. People buy without knowing what the company does, how the project makes money, what the token is used for. They only need to know one thing: others are making money. This is when the market is no longer a place of valuation, but becomes a casino of collective psychology. And just like in the forest, when too many weak animals join, the battle is no longer based on strength, but on the belief that the crowd can't be wrong. But the crowd is always wrong at the top and wrong at the bottom. Only the emotion differs. At the top, it is blind greed. At the bottom, it is paralyzing fear. A surviving trader is not the one who calls the exact top, but the one who realizes when the game is no longer meant for them. They don't need to sell at the exact peak. They just need to understand. When the market story becomes too beautiful, too easy, too certain, the remaining reward is no longer worth the risk ahead. Like the first bulls in the forest, they did not wait until bears attacked to run. They withdrew when their stomachs were full, when the best part had been eaten, and when they saw the crowd that didn't know how to fight flooding in. They withdrew not out of fear, but out of understanding cycles, understanding that every crowd's feast has someone who must pay the final bill. And the one who pays is usually not the wise one, but the one who arrives late with the biggest belief. In real trading, leaving the forest can mean gradually reducing positions when the market is extremely euphoric, not using margin when everyone is showing profits, not buying just because of fear of missing out, holding cash when opportunities are no longer clear. These actions look very stupid in the short term, because you will see others still making money, still showing profits, still laughing happily. But you must understand you are watching the final scenes of a movie where a side character thinks they are the hero before the script flips. Financial markets do not reward intense emotion. They reward long-term survival. The winner is not the one who eats the most grass in one day, but the one who is not in the forest when the bears get angry. The secret of crowd psychology is not about controlling others. It is about not letting yourself get swept into the collective heartbeat when the whole forest is breathing fast with greed. When all you hear around you are cheers and no more warnings, remember the image of the piglet standing deep in the forest, looking for bulls, but hearing only roars. Because in the market, the survivor is not the strongest, but the one who knows how to leave before the real war begins.